The banjo, a happy sound, once thought to be strictly American, but actually it developed from Africa. Welcome. I'm Hans Manship, your host for Musical Minutes. Thanks for joining me. Let's take a look at this instrument that's been enjoyed for generations.
The banjo began as an African gourd instrument. It evolved through the Caribbean islands and reached America in the early 1700s. In the U.S., the minstrel banjo grew out of the African-style gourd, and by the mid-1800s had become a commercialized, fretted, tone-ringed instrument. By the late 1800s, there was a wealth of experimentation as manufacturers started making banjos in all shapes and sizes, with a number of different tunings and various numbers of strings. The classic banjo then grew out of the minstrel-style banjo. In 1620, Richard Jobson wrote about a gourd with a neck and strings in West Africa, referencing ancestors of the Ngoni and Akonting. In 1678, a banza was written about in Martinique, played by enslaved Africans. And in the 1700s, plantation-era banjars appeared throughout the Caribbean and the American South. Gourd bodies, skin heads, fretless necks, and short drone strings. All this evidence documented the origins of the banjo were not from Europe or even America, as some have thought. Every structural element was African-derived. The minstrel era began in the U.S. between 1769 and 1840. White performers in blackface adopted the banjo in Southern minstrel shows, spreading it nationally. Around the 1830s, William Boucher from Baltimore built the earliest American shop-made wooden-rimmed banjos like we know today. In the 1850s, metal strings were invented. Originally, gut strings were used on the banjo. Between 1860 and 1890, the Dobson brothers, Henry and George, were the first major innovators and celebrity banjoists. Henry C. Dobson introduced the first fretted five-string banjo in 1878, manufactured by Buckbee. This marks the transition from the fretless era to the modern fretted banjo. They also came up with the first tone rings, banjo head tightening systems, early resonators, and standardized student models. My earliest banjo is a Dobson, dated to this period. Most Dobson banjos were actually made to Henry specs by J. H. Buckbee out of New York. He was the largest manufacturer of the era. George C. Dobson, the performing brother, was a touring virtuoso. His Matchless and Victor models were student favorites. He performed into the 1930s, bridging the minstrel, parlor, and early classical banjo eras. The 1890s to the 1930s brought about expansion with the Industrial Revolution. Banjos of all sizes, including banjo orchestras, appeared due to their popularity. Fairbanks and Cole from Boston dominated the high-end banjos. In the 1890s, steel strings became standard. The Fairbanks White Lady was introduced in 1901. By 1918, the first Gibson banjos appeared. In the 1940s, Earl Scruggs developed three-finger style picking during the Bluegrass Revival. Plastic banjo heads replaced calfskin in the 1950s. During the 1960s to the present, an open-back banjo revival brought new modern makers with the Dobson-style tone ring banjos. Pete Seeger was a popular banjo player and singer during the folk music revival, which I joined wholeheartedly. Comedian Steve Martin brought the banjo to our modern audiences. Movies like Deliverance, 1972, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, 2000, and TV shows like The Beverly Hillbillies in the 60s and Hee Haw, 1969 to 1992. They all featured the banjo. Throughout history, the banjo has produced a happy sound from young to old, rich to poor, Everyone loves its happy sound. My full-size banjo is an Ida, established in 1958. We'll cover the banjorine and banjo uke on another episode.
The banjo, enjoyed by young and old. Join me next time when I'll take us into the mysteries of another musical creation man has made to enjoy the gift of music that God has created. Blessings.